thanks for joining me today. I'm Mindy with Literary Liaisons, and today we have author Arleen Williams. Arleen penned the memoir, a very poignant memoir, titled The 39th Victim. We'll chat a little bit about that in a minute. But she also has a new novel coming out, Running Secrets. So I'm really excited to introduce her today. Arleen and I both write at Louisa's Cafe with Jack Remick and Robert Ray. So when one of our group comes out with a new novel, gets published, it's obviously very exciting. So welcome, Arleen. Thanks for joining me today. First book, The 39th Victim, was a memoir based on your family and the fact that your sister Maureen was the 39th victim of the Green River Killer. Mm-hmm. By all accounts, a difficult book to write and then publish. So,
absolutely.
Well done. But your new book, a novel titled Running Secrets, is fiction. Mm-hmm. Though it appears one consistent theme, family communication, connects the two works, or at least that's what I picked up on.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us a little about Running Secrets and how you came upon the idea for the story?
Yes. I had finished The 39th Victim. It was under contract for publication. And one day Chris just showed up, basically. I had a lot of questions in my mind.
Chris?
Chris Stevens, the protagonist
of
Running Secrets, sorry. I live in Elki, or in West Seattle, and walk Elki, and I'm often, watching runners, and the image of this young woman who was suicidal, it's just got me thinking about suicide. And as the character developed, the story developed. But it was my first attempt at writing fiction, so I wrote it and I rewrote it and I rewrote it. But the story just developed. First I knew she was suicidal. I didn't know why. Why this young woman who seemed to have everything could possibly want to kill herself. And I did a lot of research on suicide. And then the story went through various configurations before I settled on a theme that worked for me, and that dealt with questions of identity and race and immigration, which all three books deal with in the Elki trilogy.
Fabulous, thank you.
Excuse me.
No, it's all right. Did you find the process of writing different between fiction and nonfiction? I find it to be two different parts of my brain. So,
not so much, perhaps. To write memoir, you still have to develop story. You still have to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. You still have to have a story arc. You still have to have characters and character development. When I finished writing The 39th Victim, which was a very difficult and cathartic book to write, and started working on Running Secrets, there was a freeing aspect to it. I could create, and that feeling of being able to create was really empowering. It was fun. But I was still held to a lot of what is memoir in the sense of setting. The settings of Elki Beach, of Seattle, of West Seattle. I think that memoirist side of me played in my desire to have a lot of accuracy in my descriptions of place and time. So
Great. Can you describe your road to publication and how you landed at Book Trope?
That's the biggest challenge for all writers, I think. And then once we do sign that contract, the work really begins. I started sending out Running Secrets way too soon. When it was in its very early drafts. It was a quarterfinalist. A very early version was a quarterfinalist in the Amazon Breakthrough Contest.
Oh, congratulations.
Or award, or whatever it's called. Thank you. But I started doing it way too soon. And then I was still trying to figure, let me back up. I'm often asked why I didn't go with the same publisher. And it just really isn't their cup of tea. The
same publisher as the 39th
Victim.
Okay.
The 39th Victim, by sheer bizarre good luck, was selected and published by a publisher that specializes in lesbian fiction. well, the 39th victim was neither lesbian nor fiction, and nor was Running Secrets. So, you know, it just wasn't the right fit. So then I started looking at agents, and it didn't take me long to decide I didn't want to go that route. So then I was, you know, considering self-publishing, looking at small indie presses, going through multiple rewrites. And someone told me about Book Trope, and when I read about their team publishing process and the idea that, you know, I got to select these people and would have a book manager or publicist and an editor and a designer and a copywriter, and that we would work together to put this book out, and we would all share in the profits of or lack thereof, of this book. It appealed to me. Unfortunately, they were open for submissions at the time, and I submitted and was accepted for the book and for the trilogy. So, yeah.
Congratulations. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the trilogy since we're here?
Well, I hadn't planned on writing a trilogy. I finished writing Running Secrets, and I just loved the characters. And I knew there was more about those characters that I wanted to explore, and certainly more about personal identity and race and immigration in the United States and here in Seattle that I wanted to write. And so a second story came to me, and I started writing that one. And this was before the Book Trope, before I landed the contract with Book Trope. So when I talked to Book Trope, I already had 2 finished novels. So the manuscript for both of the first 2 were done, and I was working on the third. So yeah, I was just wanting to continue some time. The books are not a series in the sense you don't have to read the first one before the second or the second before the third. But they're linked in shared characters, shared themes, shared setting, some of those aspects.
So for someone who loved the characters, they can continue on with them in another scene and
Right.
and another story. So,
Exactly.
oh, that's nice. That's a great idea.
Thank you.
Now, you had said a couple minutes ago that you chose not to go with an agent or not to seek out an agent. You want to say a little on that, if you would?
Well, I shouldn't say I didn't try, because I did try. I got tired of many rejections, like many writers do. But then I also realized that if I were to sign with an agent, and I know there's great agents out there still doing wonderful work, but there's still another layer. Then that agent still has to sell the book to one of the, is it Big Four now? Big Four publishers, publishing houses, and it just all felt so removed from me. I really enjoyed the process of working with Blue Feather Limited, I think they are. I'm sorry, the publisher for my first book, for the 39th Victim. It's Blue Feather Limited, and they were wonderful. We had a great rapport. The editor there was fabulous, Jane Volbrecht, and I wanted that experience again. I wanted to feel like I was involved in putting this book out into the world, books, and so I moved away from that and started looking again at indie presses that might work, and I was lucky. It's like a needle in a haystack, I think. It
How
really
did
is.
you decide then between all the indie presses on Book Trope?
The team, the team approach to publishing is very unique to Book Trope. And as soon as I learned about it and read more about it, I decided that I wanted to give it a try. Besides, it's not like people were, knocking down my door either. I mean, let's be frank about this.
I might edit that out. Yeah.
Getting a book published and a first novel published in the United
Swimming
States.
upstream.
It's a needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
And I feel like I won the lottery. I really do. I mean,
that's great.
it is, yeah, 2014 is going to be a really
Oh,
great year.
That's great. That's great.
Thank you.
Well, what would you say is the greatest piece of writing advice you've ever received?
Sit down and write.
Yeah.
I think Jack Remick and Robert Ray, who I've written with since my first and only writing class was in 2002, 2003 with Jack Remick and Robert Ray here in Seattle, and those two are phenomenal teachers. And you put in the seat time, plain and simple. Books don't write themselves. They don't write once, you don't just write it and it's done. You rewrite and rewrite and rewrite until you feel you've got the very best you can get, and then start showing it around. Like I said earlier, I think I started showing it around too soon, and
Because the book wasn't ready?
because the book wasn't ready. It just wasn't good enough. What I ended up doing with Running Secrets was setting it aside, writing a second memoir, putting that aside, starting a second, finishing the memoir, starting a second novel, and then going back to Running Secrets.
That's a lot of how I work.
Yeah, a lot of back and forthing until and I think it was really good, because what it allowed me to do was to start developing not just another memoir, which will be coming out from Book Trope also, probably 2015 though. But it allowed me to develop the story and the characters more in the second book, Biking Uphill, and then go back and polish some aspects of Running Secrets before it was released to the public, and that was really helpful. So.
Well, I was going to ask what's next in your writing career, but I think you've shared some of that with us. Anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I think I'm really excited and really happy. I mean, I've got the 3 books. Biking Uphill will be out spring 2014. Walking Elkai will be out probably November or December of 2014. And then we're looking at 2015 for a re-release of The 39th Victim, along with a second memoir called Moving Mom that sort of follows up The 39th Victim. A lot of readers were asking me, what about your mom? And so I wanted to tell my mom's story after Dad's passing. And it really deals with motherhood and issues around motherhood and dementia, because my mother had dementia.
So consistent with that family communication.
Oh,
that
yes.
I mentioned earlier.
Big
Yeah.
issues of communication. Yeah. And then learning to communicate with my mother when my mother was more like her teenage self, probably. But a wonderful 7 years that I just really, really felt lucky to be able to share with her, despite all the challenges and difficulties of that.
Sure.
And I was with her when she passed, and it was good. So those are issues that'll be explored in that book as well.
Well, we'll certainly look forward to that. It looks like the
Thank
next
you.
2 years are just going to be wonderful for you.
Yes.
Congratulations. I know
Thank
your
you.
book launch is February 1st at Hugo House in Seattle.
Yes.
And I'm going to post events and dates and times and links and all of that at the end of the interview. So thank you very much, Arleen. Thank you.
Thank you.